Okay, good afternoon. I believe this is our fourth press conference here. Wish I could chat with the media under some better circumstances, but things are moving quite along. First and foremost, good afternoon. And as the message was yesterday morning at 9, yesterday at noon, and also yesterday at 2:30, just a feeling of gratitude, right, from the City of Sullivan. I cannot begin to elaborate the outpouring of support, the phone calls, the text messages, the emails from all over the state of Indiana, all over the Midwest, and quite frankly, all over the country for that matter. So much love and support, and the people of this community are so resilient. The churches are stepping up, the civic organizations are stepping up, and it's exactly what I've been telling you all for years, that this community really knows how to take time to care, and it's true. So thank you very much for all that. Officially, inside the city limits, the City of Sullivan, EMA, and all of our first responders, we are technically and officially in recovery mode at this time. So that is recovery mode. Also, we were obviously in search mode, yesterday, and now we have moved out of search mode into recovery mode. So all folks inside the city limits that had been reported missing or there were concerns, they have been accounted for. Having said that, we are still in search and recovery outside the city limits at this time. So out in the county, Indiana State Police are here actually right now as we speak. There is a helicopter outside the city limits searching out in the county, and they are bringing manpower as they continue to search for an individual outside Sullivan County. Also want to reiterate, if you need assistance, if you need any type of assistance, the mayor's administration has been working around the clock. Our staff has been doing an outstanding job of trying to talk with folks that were affected, loved ones that were affected, but they do need to continue to come up here to 110 North Main Street here in the City of Sullivan at Sullivan City Hall. And maybe you have a transportation issue or you can't get up. You can also contact 812-638-2023. So any assistance, any help that you might need, once again, contact the phone number 812-638-2023. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Joink. Joink, yesterday we needed an emergency number and we needed it quick. So they set up that special number. If nobody is here or we're busy to answer that number, there will be a voicemail system. Please leave a detailed voice message on your concern and as much information and contact information, and somebody will get back with you. So one more time, 812-638-2023. That is a specific number for tornado assistance. I did mention the ISP, the Indiana State Police. They are still in search mode using their helicopter at this time. The direct area is not the only area, obviously, that was affected, right? We have a direct impact area. There were several locations throughout the county, the south side of the city, and I want to reiterate that there are multiple areas of storm damage. So while these families were greatly affected, their lives changed forever, there is still other storm damage that is being assessed throughout the area, throughout the county. And I don't want to alarm anybody on this next one, but we just have had a few reports that Tuesday and Wednesday could have some weather issues. So I don't want to scare anybody and say that we're going to have the storms like we had on Friday, but just want to make sure that all citizens are obviously aware of the weather that's coming up, and we are in direct contact with the National Weather Service on that. One thing that I can't reiterate enough here is, I mentioned when I first started the overwhelming support and how grateful we are. But to be quite frank with you, we no longer need supplies and perishable foods at this time. So many people are giving and they're wanting to bring in, and I don't want to sound unappreciative, but my gosh, we have truckloads and truckloads that have already come in, truckloads that are continuing to come in. The Sullivan Civic Center is nearly full with goods and supplies, and quite frankly, a lot of the folks affected, being the love of the community, are being taken care of by their churches. They're being taken care of by their loved ones. So while we appreciate it very much, please, we are asking to please stop sending any type of supplies. And if you do want to send food, make sure it is a non-perishable item, please, at this time. We are also taking supplies. The emergency management is filling up trailers. The Sullivan Civic Center is filling up quickly, and now the city garage here at Sullivan City Hall. So we're actually trying to distribute some of those items to the blessing box, which is right across the street, because I'm sure that there's some folks impacted that might not feel comfortable walking in to City Hall or a facility like this. So we're trying to get some of those supplies and non-perishables over there, because I can't reiterate this message enough. We appreciate the support, but this is long-term recovery, right? This can't be an emotional thing where everybody jumps on now. We are going to need your help today. We're going to need your help a week from now. We're going to need your help months from now. We're going to need your help years from now. So we're going to need a steady supply of resources. And quite frankly, we don't have the warehouse, Sullivan City or Sullivan County, after meeting with those commissioners, to be able to keep all of this stuff. Also, speaking of long-term recovery, I want to once again mention that anybody that does want to need financial assistance would be greatly appreciated to the Sullivan County Community Foundation. That is through the Wabash Valley Community Foundation. You can get that link on the City of Sullivan Facebook page, and I know numerous folks. Matter of fact, even the Indiana Pacers, Governor Holcomb texted me last night, which I can't say enough about him. Even after he left yesterday, he's staying in constant contact with me, and I know the Indiana Pacers, just to name a few. So when I say people all over the state are stepping up and wanting to help, I truly mean that. The logistics of the impacted area, I want to briefly talk about this. This is like the cavalry, right, rushing in to help, but that can also create some havoc, and that can also create some issues. So we are asking folks that are coming in, angry volunteers that are mad because they can't get to the scene is not helpful. Crashing through barricades is not helpful. So once again, we appreciate all the volunteers and their assistance, but please understand, we are trying to keep things organized here, and we are. We're on top of it. That is a very, very light minority there that's doing that. But just understand, we have a lot of people that are out. They've been working since Friday, and they're tired. But some of the logistics of the impacted area, South Section Street will still be closed off to through traffic, okay? You can reroute. If you come down south on Section Street, if you're southbound, you'll have to turn on Pheon and go around. And northbound traffic, you won't be able to get north for a while. Section Street hasn't nearly been as impacted, but a lot of the equipment is stationed on Section Street, and also debris and things are being moved around out into that area. Also want to reiterate that volunteers that have found a way to self-deploy and get into the area, be careful what you throw away. What looks like junk to you, what looks like has been damaged. We have some families that have been concerned. Maybe they have some valuables that they felt were valuables, or some sentimental belongings that they wanted to go through that, quite frankly, have already kind of been picked up. So keepsake items and things like that. You can't cover everything in a press conference and every little detail. I'm trying to do as much as possible here to get this information out. Volunteers, so many people wanting to volunteer. What can I do? The best thing you can do is go right across the street at 344 North Main Street to the Sullivan Civic Center. If you want to physically volunteer in some capacity, which there are limited availability right now, please go in and coordinate with Melissa. She will take your name, your information, and the resources that you'd be able to provide. So once again, 344 North Main Street at the Sullivan Civic Center. If you just want to do something, not sure what to do, they can help guide you. We did mention over the weekend that Abundant Grace Church is still one of our shelters. We also want to thank the folks at the Miriam Conference Center that have offered to open up the Miriam Conference Center. Obviously, the folks at Abundant Grace Church, we appreciate them opening their doors, but I'm sure there will be a time that they'll want to get back to regular church services, and that we really appreciate the folks in Miriam stepping up to do some of those things. So, I wanted to give you a list of assisting agencies today, but I'll be quite honest with you, there's so many of them, I don't want to leave anybody out. But basically anybody in the Area 7, Vigo County Emergency Management, Vigo County Search and Rescue, Sullivan County, of course, Southwest School Corporation, PD, Lewis Fire Department, TAGL 7, PC SIR, IDHS. I mean, so many acronyms here, and that I really can't get to all of them. So that pretty much covers all that. We did talk about there have been 3 reported fatalities. At this time, after talking to the Indiana State Police, we are not ready to release the names of 2 of the 3 victims. Excuse me. one of the hardest parts of being a mayor, right? Earlier, I guess I had the honor to speak with the father of our first deceased victim, Mr. Goodman, and who lost his son, Shane Goodman, who was located, he was one of the fatalities. I think a lot of folks here in the Sullivan community were already aware of this. Family has been notified, but we definitely wanted to pass that information along. Mr. Shane Goodman did speak to his father earlier and just let him know that our administration and this entire community is with him, not only today, long term, right? We keep going back to long term. Over the coming days, the weeks, months, and years, we talked about the impact of people losing their homes. But it's pretty tough talking to a dad that lost his son, has gone through this, and has a daughter-in-law that actually had surgery and is continuing to recover there. So she's not only dealing with her ailments, she's dealing with the loss of her husband as well. So just wanted to pass his name along, Mr. Shane Goodman. Your family, thoughts, and prayers are definitely with you. So at this time, I'll open up to any questions.
Was Shane Goodman a county fatality or a city fatality?
Just right outside the city limits on St. Clair Street.
What can you tell us about Shane Goodman and what his father related to you?
The Goodman family, I really don't personally know his father. But just the Goodman family, they're a well-known family here in our community, and I really actually probably know his in-laws a lot better who live here in the City of Sullivan. So whether you're inside the city limits or just outside the city limits, we are a very tight-knit community, and I know we have a lot of friends, a lot of family, and our thoughts and prayers are with them.
What can you tell us about the fatalities in Sullivan or their location?
I cannot give that information out right now because, as I stated, the Indiana State Police are still in a search and rescue mode, so I will defer to them to discuss that.
Can you say how old Shane Goodman was?
I don't have that number.
Has there been talks about school, what that's going to look like?
Some of those were talked about this morning in a briefing, but as of right now, there hasn't been any decision made. Obviously, I think the school corporation wants to keep things as normal as possible, but at the same time, I know there's some kids probably in the affected area. So that will be kind of a decision this afternoon. We are going to meet at 7 p.m. this evening, okay, one more time. So any questions you might have throughout the day, I will take those, and we will try to get those answered for you by 7 p.m. tonight. Speaking of 7 p.m. tonight, I don't know if I mentioned this. I apologize, so much information. For the second night, there will be a curfew put into place. So last night at 7 p.m., there was a curfew, and after talking to the Indiana State Police this morning, I can't even fathom of why that they would have had to run people off last night, but unfortunately, it's the society we live in, right? So people had to be ran off, and not folks that were just coming to check on their well-being. So the curfew will be in place again this evening for the impacted area only. That is not a citywide curfew, for the impacted area only. And once again, that is essentially Section Street, south of the railroad tracks, east towards St. Clair Street, and the south as Missouri. North Silver, South Missouri, section to St. Clair. Please avoid the area.
Aerial map in front of you. Would you mind holding that up and actually showing us on your aerial map the area you're talking about?
Sure, absolutely. Didn't realize that was here. That's the city's trail system. Okay, Silver Street. So essentially, Section Street runs north and south, which is the main artery through the community. So Section Street, south is Missouri, north is Silver. And here's the edge of the city limits. And then also outside the city, St. Clair Street, which is where Mr. Goodman was located out here in St. Clair. So basically try to avoid this area at all possible. There will be a curfew until 7 p.m. this evening. I'll try to have a better map of that at 7 p.m. actually identified it out to you.
Can you give us an idea of, in a town of 5,000 people, let's assume there's 500 people, which is 10%, you may not have a permanent living situation. I'm assuming a lot of those folks have family here, or you can do something with housing vouchers, but I'm also, again, assuming maybe your community doesn't have that many vacant properties for people to actually live in.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah, as we mentioned yesterday in yesterday's press conference, the IHCDA has offered their full assistance. I spoke to their director, Jake Sipes. He's been in contact with us under the Lieutenant Governor's office. That can be up to a 30-day. A lot of residents have reached out to City Hall, and we have gotten many vouchers out There were some people that weren't even able to come up to get their vouchers, so our city staff actually went to them on location and gave them vouchers to be able to do that for the next 30 days. But you're right, it's going to be an overall concern. Housing is definitely an issue, which you guys have covered the housing issues all over the state and what we're trying to do here in the city of Sullivan as well. So,
How many, I know you're not asking for more volunteers, but how many people have shown up from around the area?
Hundreds, up to 1,000 people. I mean, and they're coming in, they're flooding in. Obviously, the city has stepped up, the county has stepped up, but it's just amazing the license plates where they're from. They're basically from everywhere, and people just are ready to call, they're ready to mobilize, and they're ready to go. So it's just been overwhelming. I can pass this along that like I said, we really appreciate the governor, the lieutenant governor, all the state agencies have been at our full disposal. The state fire marshal, Indiana State Police, and actually after the press conference today, I have a phone call scheduled with the White House and the Intergovernmental Affairs Office. So as I told you yesterday, we're on top of this. And just like we are everything else, this is no different. It's different because it's a really big deal and people's lives are affected. But we will make every phone call. We will search for every single resource to make sure that this community stays strong, that the people are loved, that are affected, and that they know they're loved, and that we're going to build back better than it was even before. I can assure you that.
I can assume that your county treasurer or your tax rolls would have an approximate idea of the value of the homes down there. Do you even at this point have a ballpark figure on the damage total?
I don't have a ballpark figure, but I can tell you that I'm meeting with representatives from FEMA this morning, and that is part of the logistics that are coming together, which is something else. And I don't remember if I mentioned this or not. Once again, we appreciate everybody coming down, and I definitely understand the anxieties of the family members that are wanting to get their places cleaned up. And I also know there's a limited window, a limited time of when volunteers have the time when they're not at work on a weekend to be able to come down with their equipment. But I must say this, it is very important that we document all of this damage. So when you see dumpsters and you see dump trucks hauling things off, a lot of those things still have to be negated. So I want to make sure, as I mentioned earlier, that I got the people's back. And having the people's back wants to make sure that all of the time, all of the efforts of our volunteers, all of the efforts of our employees are very well documented, because we want to make sure that not only the community gets the finances and the funding that it needs, but we're going to fight for each individual property owner, right? We're going to do everything we can to try to put money directly in people's pockets, which is another reason why it is so important. And not that it's not all about the money, but the money is a part of the long-term recovery, right? Because while we have some items that can be utilized today, once again, I can't emphasize this enough. We're talking weeks, we're talking months, we're talking years. So the money that you donate through the Sullivan County Community Foundation will be targeted, right? And it won't be a mayor's decision only. We've talked with county officials. There will be a group of funds there that we will come together, and we will make sure that the people of this community are supported emotionally, physically, and also financially. And that's what that fund is for. So once again, please go to the City of Sullivan, Indiana Facebook page. You can see the link. You can make a contribution, $5, $5,000, whatever you feel led to give. And also that phone number again, 812-638-2023 for assistance as well.
Do you have a dollar total on, you mentioned the Pacers or folks that are donating, have you got any idea how much money has rolled in so far?
Not yet. It's kind of hard to figure that over a weekend. Hope to get some of that information tomorrow. Yeah.
And you are asking, like anyone who wants to volunteer and clean up, they're supposed to contact, is it EMA?
They're supposed to step across the street at the Sullivan Civic Center, right? So you contact the Sullivan Civic Center, you can get your name, you can sign up, because once again, they just want to make sure they have a record of all of the resources so they can put you in at the right place.
And are they doing that as opposed to just going on out?
Both, right? We have some self-deployment, and we appreciate that, because like I said, it's a sticky situation. You want to take care of the people. You want to show your appreciation for the volunteers that are willing to help. And I can tell you, it's literally thousands of individuals, corporations, businesses, civic organizations that are willing to step up and help. We just got to make sure that when all these food and supplies, we can't take our time and resources to take care of the overabundance of things that are coming in. We need to make sure that our resources are to the impacted areas and even some of the less impacted areas.
With Tuesday's weather rolling in, is there anything being done to prepare for what might come with that storm surge?
Asking folks to be aware of the weather. I mean, how do you really prepare, right? And once again, I want to go back on that. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't predict the weather. Believe it or not, I'm a mayor. I'm not a magician either. But we're trying to do the best we possibly can. Can't really predict that. Just want to make sure people are weather aware. As of right now, we have nothing that tells us that, hey, prepare to bunker down. But we just, it's kind of a sensitive raw time. We want to make sure people are aware of the weather coming in, possibly.
Just to clarify, so would you recommend that residents, if they are interested in looking through their property, do you think that that's hindering the documentation? I know it's kind of hard to say. What would you recommend they do?
No, it's okay, because as of yesterday, we wanted to make sure, our goal was by 10 a.m. yesterday that residents were able to go back. And I know residents are taking their friends, and that's okay, right? This isn't not like it's a total lockdown, because we have to have activity going on in the area. So we actually encourage those residents to come back. We actually encourage them to check their belongings and their property. And if there's something they can capture there, for example, last night nobody could find for sure who to call, so they called the mayor, and the mayor and the DPW director went down to search for a set of keys that were in a car, because the keys were to a place that I won't even mention, in case anybody has to know. I think the keys were located. But yeah, just the little things like that you step up and do, right? Whether it's a set of keys that might be to a public facility somewhere, or whatever the case may be. I mean, we got to get in. We got to take care of people, for sure.
Is there anything this afternoon that is an absolute crisis that you gotta deal with, let's say before 6 o'clock? Whether it's a building that's in a precarious state that may come down, it's water, it's electricity. I know about volunteers and trying to get money in here and talking to FEMA and White House.
Yep.
Is there anything you and your DPW director gotta solve this afternoon that's an absolute crisis?
I don't know if I'd call it crisis, but just the logistics, making sure that the system continues to be streamlined. I don't want to say there's not any structures that can cause any damage. It is our understanding at this point that pretty much everything that was going to come down is pretty much to the ground. So I can't say that we're addressing necessarily. It's just continued ongoing resources.
Thanks, sir.
Quick news, real quick news.
Okay.
I talked to the county coroner, Joe Kaufman, the state police, Sergeant Esslinger, or Major Esslinger said he could release those names, so I just got off the phone with him. He said they really haven't identified Susan's body yet, but she's
Right.
at the hospital, so I think Paul and I are gonna go.
Okay.
Because we know it was her, but see, they're out there now with a helicopter looking for a
I'm gonna wait
possible
till then.
person. And
Yeah.
that's why they're holding off just a second. They've
Sure.
identified Tommy, but they haven't,
Okay. Yeah, we still want to kind of wait on identification on those two victims. So. Okay. Any other questions?
Very good, thank you, sir.
All right. All right. Thank you very 7 p.m. We'll be back. And like always, our message continues. We love you. We stand with you. We're not only going to be here today, we are going to be here for the long term over the coming weeks and the coming months. This is about long-term assistance, long-term care, and long-term love for our friends and neighbors. So thank you very much. We'll see you at 7.